Have you ever said yes and felt your whole body flinch before your brain even tried to reason with it, before the guilt kicked in? Your energy already knew it was a no. This week, I want to talk about what happens when our energy speaks first, because so often, especially this time of year, we override that voice. We push through, we say yes, and then we wonder why we're exhausted, irritable, or sick. I've been there recently, and what I've learned is that our energy holds the truth before our mind even catches up. The invitation is not to ignore it, but to honor it. Hello, and welcome back to the Voicekeeper Podcast. I'm Caroline, spiritual coach, voice keeper, and guide for women who are done performing and ready to come home to themselves. This space isn't about doing more. It's about remembering what your body already knows and letting that lead. And this is a serious first for us because I am so behind on life that I'm recording this in my pajamas. So get cozy with me and let's chat about energy. I'm excited. But before we do that, and if it's safe to do so, I want you to close your eyes and drop into stillness for a minute. Place your hand on your chest or your belly or your throat, wherever you feel like it's needed, wherever you feel most grounded. And ask yourself, what have I said yes to that my energy said no to? Breathe into that. No judgment, just notice. Life has been incredibly hectic lately. I know that part of it is just that time of year. I have kids. It's just that time of year. But it's also just a lot of like personal energy too that has been drained. So I have been in a energy healing course, getting my Reiki 1, 2, and 3 level attunements. And doing that, I'm also working a gig job, driving kiddos in the morning. I am still podcast editing just a wee bit. And then, I've been doing readings and things like that. I just did a big event where I did probably 50 or so readings in 4 hours. And that's I feel like that's a minimal assessment. Maybe not quite the number that it was. I should have had a clicker with me while I was doing it. But yeah, life has just been absolutely insane. And I was talking to my good old friend ChatGPT the other day about my content calendar and my schedule and how I want to talk about things, what I want to talk about, all of that good stuff, because now my business is tweaking just a little bit with becoming a Reiki practitioner. I do want to start offering Reiki in person and distance Reiki. And so anyways, we were talking about it and decided to move my podcast publishing dates to Wednesdays, which felt like a really good idea at the time until it was Tuesday. And I still hadn't recorded my podcast episode because it's been so nuts. So here I am in my PJs getting this out to you. But it's a really important piece of what I do, and it's something that I don't want to let slide just because I'm busy. And I think that, really leads into this conversation about energy, because when we are saying yes to things, it could be in a project, an event, an obligation. Have you ever noticed when you feel that resistance in your body before you even said yes or no? It could be a tight chest, shallow breath, that feel of dread. For me, I feel it a lot in my chest. My heart chakra is like literally the center of everything that I do. And if it's a no, my heart chakra will be like, what's sad though is a lot of times we move forward anyway, and then we feel depleted or resentful after because we said yes. And I think that's a real pattern that a lot of us fall into because there's so many obligations, right? There's so many obligations. And then what happens for me especially is then I will try to find a tool to fix it all, right? And I'm like, I need a new system. I need a new notepad. I need to set reminders on my phone. And it's like, no, maybe I don't need all that. Maybe I just needed to listen to my inner knowing. I needed to listen to my energy. And I love this conversation for right now because we are entering the dark half of the year. Samhain, Halloween, the veil is thinning. I did a whole post on my Substack about intuition and how this isn't a time for your intuition to get louder. Like your voice isn't getting louder, it's just getting closer. But here's the thing, like if we don't slow down to receive it, we completely miss it. And I think that this season that is so freaking common because we're hustling, we've got traditions and parties and events and it's the holidays and we're running around and we're running and we're running and running and we're not listening. And this season is not about hustle. I want you to reframe it as a time for tuning in. And I really recommend, if you did not read that post that I did on Substack this week, go back and read it because it really does go deeper into why we should be listening and tuning in more this week and next week especially, but really just in general. And, how we can use this time to our advantage to really start tuning into our intuition. But I talk about intuition in this conversation because when I am talking about your body saying no or your energy saying no before you say no, that is intuition. And we're really bad at listening to it. And this is not our fault. It's because we carry a lot of patterns that override our no, that go above when we say no, right? And especially for women, I think that this is a huge part of a lot of what women experience is because we're constantly told to put ourselves last in our needs. And so a lot of times when we do feel that no, it gets overridden because there's just so many other things to do. But there are definitely some patterns that I have noticed. And one is social conditioning, right? So we're told to be nice, to be polite, to say yes, right? And I think there's also the social conditioning, like I mentioned, women and that overriding of no. I think there's a social conditioning too that like we can juggle a lot of balls in the air. Why is that? Why are we doing everything? I do not know. I literally, before I got on to record this podcast episode, was texting my cousin, who is very much like my sister. We're very, very close. And I was texting her and I was like, I'm overwhelmed. And she was like, why are you overwhelmed? And I was like, naming all the things. And I said, I'm doing this, this, and this, and this. And I haven't been to yoga in weeks. And she was like, see, that's the problem right there, is that you're doing all these things, but you're not doing anything for yourself. And I think that's a common experience that a lot of us have in different seasons of our life. But right now, in this crazy busy season, it's something that I am even experiencing, right? And I'm really tuned into this stuff. And like, I know it. I do. I know it. I see it. I see it happening. And I literally like still have the social conditioning. Okay, that was the first one. The fear of disappointing. Like we don't want to let others down, right? And I think sometimes it's also this fear of not being where we're supposed to be or that we'll miss out on something, right? I know, especially with my kids, that's a hard one for me. I always want to be where they are because I want to know what's going on. I want to be a part of it. It's really hard for me to not be and that gets in the way of me time, right? Another one is not wanting to explain ourselves. So we feel like our reasons are invisible, right? Like not that important. Our reasons are just, well, I'm tired, or, I don't want another volunteer project on my plate, or I really want to have a slow Yule season this year. So I'm going to say no to some things. That doesn't feel as important as maybe the thing that we're saying no to. But here's the truth that I want you to hear and recognize. Every time we override our no, we abandon a part of ourselves. And a lot of the voice reclamation stuff that I talk about, like this is part of it. Part of it is honoring yourself and being able to say no to the things you need to say no to, right? It's so, so important. So let's tie this back into energy and talk about how the body speaks first. Your body always speaks first. It is the way that your inner knowing tries to tell you things when you're not listening to it enough. So, a couple of things that I have noticed with myself and friends and family, things like that. One is a tight jaw or neck. I know that I carry a lot of my nose in my neck, a lot of my nose, a lot of my stress. There's a lot of things going on right here. Um, but it's also related to the jaw, right? So that's a big one. That feeling of dread. I mentioned that feeling of dread. Have you ever had that where like your stomach just feels like it kind of bottoms out? That is the body speaking to you, trying to tell you something. This is another one which is really interesting is avoidance or procrastination. Procrastinators unite, raise your hand. Me. I will procrastinate things that I don't want to do. I mean, it makes a lot of sense, right? Because like you don't want to do it, so of course you put it off, but it becomes very problematic. Like I'll be like, oh well, I'll get to it tomorrow, and then tomorrow comes and I don't get done what I want to get done, and then I beat myself up, and then I start to feel tired, and then the burnout comes into play, right? Another way that the body speaks first is the desire starts to disappear. So think of it like, when someone says, let's say somebody's holding your favorite piece of candy, like they walked into your house and they have, and I'm saying candy because it's Halloween, so we're just going to relate it to candy, and they have a basket and it has your favorite candy in it. And the whole time you're looking at that basket and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, I really hope that they will let me have a piece of that candy. And like that's all you can think about all night. You're like, oh, I really want a piece of that candy. I really hope they offer me a piece of that candy. And then when they say, hey, would you like a piece of this candy? You're like, oh my gosh, yes. And you're so excited and you get your piece of candy. Now imagine in that same scenario that when they walk in, you're really excited. You're like, oh, I really want that piece of candy. That'd be really nice if they offered me one. And then about 10 minutes later, you're like, I don't think I really want that candy anymore. That candy has a lot of strings attached. That candy requires a little bit more of my time. I'm not really feeling it anymore, so it's fine. And she keeps walking around with the basket, and you keep getting reminded of the candy. You keep seeing it, and you're like, well, I mean, it's good, but it creates a lot of obligations. It creates, time that I don't have. It's just, I don't need that right now. And then she walks over and she's like, do you want this candy? And you're like, sure. You know what I mean? How many times have you been in a situation where it has played out exactly like that? And it could be something at work, a project, and you're just like, I don't want to do that project. I don't want to do that project. I don't want to do that project. And then they come to you and you're like, yes, I will do that project. Like, why do we do that to ourselves? And a lot of this is intertwined, right? Like it's all related. The desire starts to disappear, but that fear of disappointing comes up, that not wanting to explain ourselves comes up, that social conditioning comes up, right? But what I want you to understand about the body speaking is that your energy starts retreating long before you ever say the words out loud. And so you just have to learn to listen to the cues. So that brings us to honoring. How do we honor that energy, right? How do we go, okay, my body's doing something. What does this mean? And what do we do when our energy says no? So I have a couple things I want you to try. One is just like a somatic kind of gesture, and you can add movement to this, but you can literally just place one hand on your body and simply say, I hear you. And if you need to, kind of wiggle it, shake it out. But just that act of placing a hand on your body and acknowledging it is going to quiet down the body's need to like fight or flight, right? To start to really react. Another thing that I'd love to do is a grounding practice. So when you get an email and it's asking you for something, take 3 slow breaths before responding to any request. Because in the pause, and I have mentioned so many times how there's sacredness in the pause. In that pause and those slow breaths, what you can do is calm down the body enough to really hear what it's telling you about this project. And then also a simple energy check-in. Ask, does this nourish or drain me? And that seems really simple. You know, these are not big dramatic changes. These are not huge exercises. This isn't journaling for an hour on the thing. These are small daily choices to help you stay rooted into your truth. And that's really, really important when you're trying to become you again, when you're trying to step back into who you are, when you are reclaiming your voice, right? This is all about staying rooted in your truth. And listen, if you cannot say no to the little things, saying no to the big things later on down the road is going to be so much harder. So if you can practice saying no to that extra ask, saying no to, working on a day when you don't have to work and you're tired, saying no to the third party you've been invited to this week. Those little no's are going to add up so that way when a really big no comes, that could be something related to a relationship, or it could be a job offer, or it could be, who knows? You're able to listen to yourself and hear what yourself really wants before you say yes. And just some words of encouragement, because this can feel like a really hard concept if you're not used to doing it. Like, you don't need to have a breakdown to listen to yourself. And I really want to reiterate this because I know that my story is really wound in a lot of breakdown, but you do not have to have a breakdown to start listening to yourself. Your body is wise, your energy is protective, and your boundaries are not selfish. They are sacred. You are allowed to pause. You are allowed to say no, and by golly, you are allowed to change your mind. Every no, rooted in truth, makes space for a yes that honors your healing. Okay? And if your energy has felt tangled, clouded, or unclear, let's help those yes and no's feel sacred again. I have 2 offers for you. One is I have my Samhain reading, so when this episode comes out, we'll have just a couple days left, but through the 31st, I am booking these special readings. In fact, I have one I need to do today. So definitely go check that out. I'll put the links in the show notes. And then I am so excited to now be offering distance Reiki sessions. So these are gentle, intuitive energy clearings with messages and chakra insights. I even do a little card pool when I do these readings. What's so great about these is you do not have to be there. Oh, I have a friend coming to say hi. It's because I was talking about cards. He loves to pull cards, this one. He's like, why are we pulling cards? Calcifer, say hi. If you're listening to this and not watching it, it's my orange kitty who you may have seen pictures of. He's my guy who has a lot of stress and anxiety. And I really think that he was sent here especially for me. So anyways, back to what I was talking about. Distracted much. So these distance Reiki sessions, you do not have to be available for them. We do not book a 30-minute call and sit on a call. What's really cool about Reiki is that it transcends time and space. And I love doing distance Reiki sessions because sometimes you just need a little rest. You just need a little alignment. You just need someone else looking out for your energy, and you don't have to do anything. I do all the work, and then I send you a report afterwards. I do check to see which chakras are balanced and unbalanced, active, overactive, all of those things, and then work on aligning them as well as cleaning your aura and just in general giving you some good vibes, which I think is really, really important. So if you're interested in that, you can head to my website, carolinehull.com. Again, the link will be in the show notes. And I just want to thank you all so much for being here. It's been really incredible to see my podcast download numbers over the last few episodes. And, podcasting has always been a huge part of my life and my business. And I don't think it's going away anytime soon. But if I have to record in my PJs, I will. So thank you for listening. Your body knows. Your voice knows. Let this be the season that you stop overriding the wisdom inside you. You are allowed to trust yourself again. And we're going to be digging so much more into this topic of this time of year and all that it entails over the next couple of months. So be sure to tune in. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.